Hello and welcome to GPTV on the most interesting Tuesday, 7th of April. My name's Philip Kingston.
I'm Gary Peer.
And it is an interesting Tuesday, Gary, isn't it? Because this market, this new coronavirus, this COVID-19 continues to unfold and continues for people to go, what is going on?
Do you know what? Every Tuesday is an interesting Tuesday for us, Philip, because we're in the world of real estate. There's always something going on. There's always something happening. There's COVID today. There was GST yesterday. There'll be something else tomorrow. There's always something. The Banks Royal Commission last year. There's always something going on, Phil.
You know what? Speaking of the Royal Commission on the banks, you know, this time last year, the banks were the most despicable people on the planet. Every single person
Didn't they change?
Absolutely hated the banks. Now everybody goes, oh, the banks.
Best friends.
Exactly right. The banks are now like the Salvation Army.
You know what? The banks are sort of like, they're like a bully at school that picked on you, and now they're your friend. It's like that, isn't it? It's a little bit like that. But, you know, we think about, you're right, actually. It was only a year ago that we were standing here, talking about, so it's hard to get funding at the moment. The elections are coming up, and then all of a sudden, you know, it was this gloomy grey sky of all these things were in place that weren't, you know, auguring well. And then, you know, then all of a sudden the elections were over, the banks were giving money, the parties are there, the streamers are out.
And the banks are like that bloke, right? Yeah. That bloke with no teeth, tattoos all over his face, having served 28 years in jail, but found the Lord in jail and came out, and they're just
community service, helping people, loving people. It's a little bit like that, isn't it? But there's always something going on.
No disrespect to people that have served 28 years in jail and got tattoos all over their face. In fact, you know, they're some of our best clients.
Yeah, you don't upset those people, Philip. They're not the best people to upset. Talking about upsetting people, you know, I got the image of the Tiger King. Was it the Tiger?
I just watched the last episode last night.
Isn't that incredible?
I can't get those 5 hours of my life back.
That's right. You don't want them back, do you?
I got to the end of it because it's the popular Zeitgeist, and I had to watch it because I'm a man of the people, and I need to. I need to watch what people are watching.
Such a man of the people.
Well, I am. So I watched it, and then I got to the end of it, and I thought, why did I just watch that?
Oh, now, come on, it was fantastic. What's it called?
Tiger King.
Is it called the Tiger King?
Tiger King.
What a great series if you want to see something
Joe
crazy.
Exotic.
Yeah. And now we're playing his music through our sonas in the house, because that's typical us, you know, peers are crazy, take things too far. And of course, we're playing that through the house, you know, I saw, you know, the cat and the cat saw me and all that sort of thing. Anyway, let's get back to property.
So this is what's happened, viewers, is that obviously Netflix and the NBN has gone into meltdown as we're all staying at home, pretending to work from home whilst really, what are we doing? We're watching Tiger King. But I'm desperately searching for a new series because I did sit through those 5 episodes. I think it was 5 or 6 episodes of Tiger King. And, you know, the first one was interesting. The second one was interesting. The third one, I'm thinking to myself, why? The fourth one, definitely, why am I still here? I got to the end of it and I thought, my life is no richer for having watched this show.
Is this what this show's come to? This show? We're just talking about Netflix now. Is that what we're doing now?
We've got no property really to speak of.
So shall we let's change it and just make it about a Netflix review show? Nothing to do with real estate.
Actually, a bit of a shout out, Gary, to David and Gwen.
Yeah, that's what I've got here. I was just about to say.
I'm going to go. I'm going to lead off on this.
We're getting new audiences.
First of all, David and Gwen. When I look back on the year 2020, I'll remember it, of course, for COVID-19. I'll remember it for the whole world going into meltdown, but I will also remember it for Gwen and David coming into our lives, because I think that even if this was a normal year, Gary, I would get to the end of it and say my favourite vendors for 2020 were David and Gwen, who sold their house with us, who are the nicest people. Shout out to you. Congratulations on your sale. But thank you for being avid GPTV converts.
And it could be that you're the only viewers right now, so it could just be us and you watching this show. So thank you. Welcome to our new viewership, if that's the term, Philip, because they've discovered us. Phil,
tell all your friends, David and Gwen. By the way, we want to get the ratings up because Netflix are looking for new shows.
Well, that's exactly
well, they will. I reckon we could get our...
Now could be it. We've talked about it for years, our show. This could be our time to finally get our show, Phil. And we talked about... Well, I've watched The Plot Against America. It's a new one that's just come out. The Plot Against... It's quite interesting,
Phil. Do you know, I watched the second episode of that last night and I kind of lost interest.
Not sure. I think it's... You're pretty impatient, aren't you?
I am.
Like you are with everything. With people, with you're just an impatient, sort of impulsive. What's it? ADD.
Impulsive ADD.
ADD person, and you like that with television as well.
Gary, if it doesn't hit me in the centre of the eyes straight away.
Do you walk out of movies?
No, I'm not. Well,
have you walked out of a movie?
Have I walked?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Your father has. I know.
My dad only goes to movies for the exercise.
Exactly. And the shorts. Once the shorts are over, the opening. That's it.
Shout out to my father. This is what's happening on the show now. This is a show about nothing, but a shout out to my father, who I just said goes to the movies for exercise because he walks in and then he walks out.
I know, he does. He gets. All he has is sometimes he has a little snooze as well, Philip. So he does it for leisure and exercise. But anyway, and every now and then he watches the movie.
All right, come on, Gary. Let's talk about real estate because viewers, it's a whole new world out there. We are still making sales, but the sales volume in Melbourne has really contracted. There's no question about that. Having said that, buyers with a real need to buy are absolutely out there, and we've had a number of transactions which you're going to take us through. But viewers, if you think about it, if you sold your house in recent times in the hope to buy a new one, we've got all of these buyers that have sold, and keep in mind that February and March, Gary, were very, very big months. So we've got all of these sellers that are now buyers that are desperate to buy something. So there are still people making moves.
I mean, let's talk about some of the things that are happening out there, because you're absolutely right. People would say, well, no one's going to sell now. You know those people that say everyone and no one.
That's
it's
right.
like they say everyone's talking about this, same sort of people. Everyone's saying this, no one's saying this, everyone's doing this, no one's doing this. Well, let me say this, Philip. There's plenty of buyers out there that are looking at property. Now, we listed this property in Beddoe Avenue, Brighton East. It went online, and we also went out to our database. 37 groups of buyers there in around 3 or 4 days, I think it was, Philip.
Viewers, just for the record, it was individual appointments. There was only 2 people in the house. The salesperson together with the couple.
We masks, the whole box and dice,
we
everything.
had the SWAT team coming down through the chimney with sanitizer.
We sprayed people with White King on the way in and out, and did everything right. You're right, Philip.
Just in case the COVID police are watching this show, waiting for us to slip up.
Hey, by the way, Phil.
I know what you're going to say. It's great.
I'm going to say one of our property managers out doing work.
Doing what they need to do.
Driving along, just minding their own business, listening to 3AW, talkback or whatever it is, Philip. All of a sudden, alarm goes off, pulled over the side of the road. Police saying, excuse me, sir, but where are you actually coming from, going to? What are you doing? Because you're more than, I think, 10 kilometres from your home. And they were tracking to see what's going on, Philip. Well, he was, of course, engaging in business of leasing properties, meeting a person under sanitary conditions and everything else. But, the police are out there, they're watching you, and if you're going to misbehave, they're going to get you.
Having said that, Gary, and I hope the police are not watching with what I'm about to say.
There's a police woman that watches this show.
But I'm just curious, think about this. Our property manager had have been pulled over. The property manager have said, no, not telling you anything, Mr. Policeman.
Well, our people would not.
But
they're law-abiding.
Absolutely gave them lip and gave them shtick. And the police are going to touch them and put handcuffs on them. I reckon this is a free ride here, Gary.
It could be. Maybe he wasn't doing any work at all. Anyway,
not that I'm encouraging that sort of thing. I think the police are incredible. The Victorian Police Force do an amazing job, and we've got a lot of police that are our clients. And all I can say is that they are the front line, keeping society civil, and we owe an enormous debt to all of our community service and our emergency service workers that are keeping us going through this rather difficult time.
Are you saying all that so it's on record for when you get in trouble with the police next time, are you? Because it's very unlikely.
I want the judge to see this.
Yeah, the judge to see, exactly. That's for the record.
Edited version.
Why don't you talk about when you used to drive from Cootamundra to Melbourne again in the old days, Philip, before they had radar? How fast was the car going?
Or what about the time when we were 14 years of age, Gary, and we caught the Spirit of Progress from Melbourne to Cootamundra, which gets into the Cootamundra train station at 2 o'clock in the morning. True story so far.
This is true.
My parents were out at a party, go figure. They could not pick us up for the train station. So what did my father do? He put our unregistered motorbike on the back of his ute. He dropped the motorbike at the station. He did. Left the key in it. You've got to love country towns. You can do this sort of thing.
I think the key was underneath.
Left the key in it.
Very security conscious.
We get off the train.
Having had a few ales.
Having had a few long ales on the train.
That's true.
14 years of age.
That's true.
We get off the train. It's in the dead of night, 2 o'clock in the morning. The motorbike is waiting there
and
for
the light
us.
for the bike didn't work. And of course, I had a suitcase.
So we get on the bike, and Gary has never been to the country. He's on the back of the motorbike holding the suitcases like
nothing to hold on to.
As we drive half an hour, ride half an hour in the pitch black night with no light.
Exactly right.
Unregistered motorbike, and of course, two 14-year-olds.
Now, we've checked the statute of limitations. We can't get booked for that, Philip. It was too long ago. But that's a true story, actually. A funny bit of our history there that we're happy to share with people. Now, if you're still tuned in wanting to watch real estate, which you're probably gone by now. But anyway, let's bring you back into property.
Beddoe Avenue. You were in the middle of talking about that.
I was, yeah. Got
a lot of people.
37 groups, Philip.
Individually went through the house.
A number of buyers stepped up to the plate, prepared to buy it, and lo and behold, Philip,
lots of sanitizer.
It's got lots of sanitizer. Now, we were talking in the very low twos, Philip. We had a range of 2 to 2.2. We lifted that to 2.1 to 2.3. We talked about that property on the show last week. Anyway, it's undisclosed, sold for beyond that range, Philip. But the buyers are out there. That's the point. I took a long time to get to it, I know. Do you
think, by the way, I've developed this absolute love of sniffing the alcohol? Sanitizer. Keep this well and truly away from your children, because you don't want to get through the whole COVID-19 story with delinquent children that are now hand sniffers.
Tattenham Street, sold that one, Philip, and that is not undisclosed, Philip. Sold for $275,500 an apartment there in Caulfield East. That was due to go to auction, Philip. Younger Avenue, sold before auction, Philip. 2 Younger Avenue. It's up on the screen there. The price is undisclosed.
Shout out to Arlene from our office, who has had the most outstanding March, and that Younger Avenue was one of her sales. Gary did an amazing job on it for a very, very lovely client. Shout out to Brett as he's watching now. But certainly well done to Arlene on having a great month, and that was one of the sales that made up her great month.
Philip, 14 Bent Street in Caulfield South, that was also sold.
Leon Guzenfitter and his team, a shout out to Igor on that one, who has just joined the Bentley office.
He's doing well.
And doing amazing things, and certainly well done, great team effort there.
So congratulations there. Philip, 12 at 273 Grange Road was also sold after auction, and 1 at 26 Narrong Road, Philip, sold before auction for an undisclosed amount. We can't say how much, but there's a few of the sales that we've made, Philip. Of course, we would usually be saying, let's review this weekend's upcoming auctions, but we know, Philip, that there aren't any of them. So there you go.
So it's the Easter weekend, of course, and
there wouldn't have been anyway.
So Easter's come at really quite a good time, because ultimately, I think the industry needs a break. They need to recoup, they need to recover, they need to eat a lot of chocolate, but no auctions this weekend across Melbourne. I want to just talk about the old auction story, Gary.
There's
been a lot of talk about online auctions, Zoom auctions. There's a number of different auction platforms.
Let's talk about that, because you were online.
I was.
Joined in to the virtual auction world, Philip. You were there not as an auctioneer, but as a spectator and observer and commentator.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So I watched a number of auctions across Melbourne, also across Sydney.
Yeah, New South Wales.
There is a number of auction platforms that have the technology to run auctions.
Yes, indeed.
Having said that, I think the technology around running an auction can be as simple, Gary, as Zoom. In fact, I think if we were going to run an online auction today, we would do it using Zoom as the platform.
Are we going to have an online auction?
We will, Gary. At this stage, we will not be running an auction until we have the level of competition around that. Mainly all of our sales are now happening before auction, where we're just negotiating with the buyers that come along. So if you think about it, Gary, an auction date and time is a line in the sand, and all of our salespeople are dealing with buyers prior to that.
And they can and will be virtually auctioned on those days and times, Philip.
Yes.
Should we choose, and should the vendors choose to go ahead, otherwise they will be sold beforehand. That's what's happening quite often out there now.
Yep. So a lot of our auctions have either been postponed, or we are selling them prior to auction. We haven't yet gone through the online Zoom style, but there are platforms that are available. It's pretty simple, and it's as simple as really, if we were running a Zoom auction tomorrow, Gary, we would have a screen where the buyers could actually see each other, which is different to a lot of the auction platforms where there's not that level of transparency. I think a Zoom auction gives the buyers the transparency.
Do you think, how you've got in Zoom that opportunity to actually have all sorts of different backgrounds lines and things, do you think buyers might intimidate other buyers in a Zoom auction by like having battlefields behind them,
or a vault of money,
a vault of money, or maybe they'll put their face in Arnold Schwarzenegger's body or something like that and say, I am going to buy it, don't bid. What do you think?
Well, first of all, if you think about it, if this does become entrenched, there's no question the general public will start to play with that. And I think you've taken the lid off it. You've probably advanced that. But you can imagine we've got the Hulk over here. We've got Arnold Schwarzenegger over there, and we might have Peter Pan or a fairy or something.
And you could have people with all sorts of different, military ideas. You could have the US Army over there, the IDF there, the Wehrmacht over there. It could be anything.
So coming back again to try to make some sort of sensibility in this show, Zoom will probably be the way that we will go. But I think you'll find, Gary, that most of our scheduled auctions will be sold prior to auction day, which, viewers, means you need to make sure that you're working very closely with our salespeople so that you get included in a pre-auction negotiation.
So let's talk about vendors and buyers now. Hey Phil, let's just talk a bit about them, shall we?
This is the
Hayfill section. This is put up the Hayfill section up there. Let's talk about if you're a buyer today.
Yes.
And you want to buy, are you going to buy? Are you going to wait? Why do you buy right now in the middle of the COVID-19, Philip?
So, Gary, I'm a great believer in getting on with life.
Yes.
And if you think about this, the days that we are on this planet are limited.
Yes.
And if there is
for us, there's not that many. Get
right.
on. Particularly you with some of those lines.
The best days of your life are definitely behind you. But if you think about it, life's short. And moving into a new home is one of the most momentous things that you can do. And if you see a home that ticks all of the boxes and it's priced with relativity to the current market, then why not make a play? Why not get on with things? I think one thing that we've proven is that everything is selling, albeit days on market is probably longer and agents are going to have to work a bit harder and a bit smarter. But if you've found a house that ticks your boxes, then why not get on with your life?
Let's talk about the younger people, Philip, because they've got a long life ahead of them.
Yes.
Please bless you all for long lives ahead of you. So let's just say you're, in your 20s.
Yes.
You've just missed out a month ago.
Yes.
On buying an apartment in a competitive auction, Philip, because they were competitive, weren't they?
A
month ago.
They were.
Now, do you wait or do you buy? Because I think most of the people that are buying are people that have the taste of that difficult purchase situation or difficult attempted purchase. They are now jumping in and having a go. So if you're wanting to sell, there are those buyers around that remember it, that have got low interest rates if they haven't lost their job, and we hope, of course, that you haven't. If you haven't lost your job and you've got low interest rates and you've got your deposit and the banks are giving you money, why wouldn't you buy right now?
So, Gary,
I think you should.
I think it's really interesting because we've both worked through all of the great crises, going right back to the crisis of the late 80s, early 90s. And it was really interesting because I remember the time in the early 90s where most people were so shell-shocked, like they're shell-shocked now, where everybody thought, well, nothing as we know it will ever continue. All of the rules will be rewritten. The world will be different. And when we came out of it, everything just went back to normal.
It did.
Property prices started to rise, share prices started to rise. And if you look at the really interesting thing is if you look at the equity graphs, because the equity graphs are tangible graphs that you can see. And the latest equity graph goes right back to the late 1890s. And you just show the graph and it just keeps rising. Yes, you do have the dips, and some of the dips are pretty sharp, but always recovers. You cannot underestimate the human condition and the fact that the human condition is one of optimism.
And I just want to add, Philip, that and going back to my point, and you're right with all of that, but getting back to the central core, Philip, if you're a buyer, first home buyer, you have a job, you are in great shape to go and buy something right now.
Absolutely.
And we haven't even talked about the grant and the benefits of the stamp duty, non-payment of stamp duty, Philip, or the reduction. Anyway, and if you're a seller and you want to sell now in COVID, do you step up to the plate and have a crack, or do you say,
Gary,
if
you're buying and selling in the same market, you buy high, you sell high. You buy low, you sell low. So ultimately, as long as you're transacting within the same kind of 12-month window, then it's irrelevant. What's relevant is getting on with your life.
Interesting, the phones are still ringing with people who are wanting to sell,
Yep.
Wanting to explore the way forward, looking to see if we've got buyers. And I think this is one of the benefits of our volume, scale and structure of our business, Philip. We've got a great database.
You just knew the advertisement would pop up here somewhere.
I can't help it, Philip, because I know that it helps right now to have all of those buyers at your fingertips and the way people are moving their buyers around. And even if you talk about some of the properties that have sold last week, and there's one we haven't spoken about yet because it's not unconditional, but one of our Carnegie agents ended up providing the buyer that bought that from Caulfield office.
Correct.
It just works so well, Philip. So if you're a seller, there are people around who want to purchase from you. Hey, Phil, one of the other things I want to say is because, of course, now we're at home and I'm discovering our house because I haven't spent much time there. I've spent more time in the last 2 weeks in our house than I spent in the first 10 years there. I saw our first ever advertisement.
I saw you sent that.
So let's put it up
me.
on the screen because I
Look
think Adam's got it.
You, Gary, you have aged so badly.
Come on,
it's
Phil,
incredible.
I've still got it.
Look,
Come
you're
on.
still an attractive man, but
take that. Just leave it there.
Time hasn't been
No, don't
kind
say
to
anymore.
you, has it?
Well, I'm not sure. We won't start with you there, Phil, but we've got to have a look at that because that's very
Those hairstyles are rather buffonty, aren't they?
Right, so I'd take it a little bit less grey there, but of course that's 33 years working with you. I'm surprised I've got hair at all, Phil, and there's any that's not grey. But
I want to just have a quick shout out to Linda because Linda was our vendor
Lovely
of 118A
Kooyong
Road,
yeah.
which was our first auction.
Do you remember how much you sold it for?
80.
No,
118,000
or something. Yeah.
Was it?
It was
Well,
134.
Linda, if you're watching, send us
Something
an email. Let us know what we did sell the property
by the
for you.
way-
But thank you for being our first auction, Linda.
Yeah, and hey Phil,
Hey,
that
Phil.
house has never been sold since that time. You know
No,
that?
it hasn't.
I don't think it's ever the same vendor's still there. Could be worth knocking on the door and seeing if it's time to move
I
on.
actually don't think you're right there, Gary.
Don't you?
I think
Maybe
that
it sold once?
transacted off market.
Oh, is that right? What a tragedy. We weren't involved a second time, but it'll come back around, Philip. We're waiting for it. Let's go to our property of the week, Phil, and just wrap up on this fantastic note. We've got 18 Cross Street, Brighton, and maybe it is a cross street, but it's a very happy home. There's nothing to be cross about if you buy this beautiful home,
Gary,
Phil.
it says that the address is Brighton, but if you think about it, technically, obviously it is Brighton, but
So
it's
just leave it
Brighton.
there.
It's Brighton,
Yes.
it's Elstonwick, it's Elwood,
Yeah.
it's St Kilda,
Yeah.
all wrapped
It's Double
up.
Bay.
It's all wrapped
Yeah.
up in, it's all, you can see the Opera House if you stand on the roof and you take enough magic mushrooms.
Exactly
You can see whatever you like from up there. But what a great property this is, Gary. It's got everything you want. One of the best features about this property, it feels brand new to start with, but one of the best features is the extensive garden areas, which is unusual for a home of this type to have that much garden and beautifully landscaped. A really magnificent home.
Stunning kitchen, great location there, Phil. 18 Cross Street. Give Phil or the team a call. We'd love to get you through there by appointment. And we are keeping very busy taking people through homes by appointment, Philip. That's the way to do it. We can't take more than 2 at a time unless they're from the same family, Philip. If they're a family of 30
2
people,
at a time.
you
And
can.
what Gary's trying to say is we can take a couple through that
Yes.
are part of the family.
Yes.
We're not taking 2 groups through at a time.
No, that's
We're
right.
taking a couple. Unless you're right, Gary, it is part of a family, in which case we can bring the family.
Yeah, the whole
but
family.
you can't bring like your whole extended family.
can't-
It
yeah.
can't be like
Can't bring
it
who-
can't be like a family
exactly.
function, or
Can't-
you
can't
can't be
bring your-
grandma's 80th
You
birthday.
can't bring who your uncle married, stepkids and all that. You can't bring those. That's not family, Phil. You've got to be sensible about it. Look, that's a big wrap on this GPTV episode. The
nonsensical edition.
Well, has there ever been a sensible one? But we're coming into Easter for all of those people that observe and enjoy Easter. Have a wonderful, safe and happy Easter. For others that enjoy and observe Passover, have a wonderful Passover. It's going to be an interesting one, Philip, where families get together for Easter lunch and Passover meals.
Via
They
Zoom.
won't be able to do it, but they'll be zooming their way through
I
it.
tell you what, your mother-in-law's cooking is going to be looking a lot better via Zoom, isn't it?
Oh, my mother-in-law's a good cook. Don't knock my mother-in-law's cooking, Phil. No, don't you dare do that. Don't go there because God forbid she cuts us off at a time like now. That's all that's happening out there in the world of real estate. I think we'll take next week out, Phil, because it is Easter Monday/Tuesday. So we're going to have a break, but you can just take your time watching this or watch it twice if you want to, or go back and watch the old episodes as you're stuck in your homes coping through this time. We'll get through it. We're all in it together and we'll be right. And maybe next time, Philip, we come back, we'll talk a bit about what's going on with the rental scene as well, because people are interested to know what's going on there. So we'll bring that back to you in the next episode of GPTV. I'm Gary Pearce.
I'm Philip Kingston. Have a fantastic and a very safe week.